Before your home ever hits the market, you'll sign a legally binding agreement. Here's what it actually says, and what it means for you. Hey everyone, I'm John Barsak, a realtor with Integrity Real Estate, and this is Maryland Real Estate with John, where we break down the home buying and home selling process step by step. In my seller representation video, we mentioned the reasons for the exclusive right to sell residential brokerage agreement. In this bonus video, we're going to walk through the Maryland Realtors Exclusive Right to Sell Residential Brokerage Agreement, section by section, and in a second video, we'll cover the most common addenda, so you understand what the agreement says, what it doesn't say, and what questions to ask before signing it. Let's jump in. This contract, commonly referred to as the listing agreement, is between you and your brokerage. It defines how your home will be marketed, what authority your agent has, how compensation works, what your responsibilities are, and what happens when your home sells. Before signing, you should understand what you're agreeing to. Let's walk through it. The listing agreement is a written agreement that formally establishes a professional relationship between you and your listing agent. It defines who represents you for how long, what services the brokerage will provide, and how compensation works. Just as importantly, it also outlines your responsibilities as a seller. In this video, we're specifically discussing the 2024 version of Maryland Realtors Exclusive Right to Sell Residential Brokerage Agreement. The first two sections of the document are straightforward. Seller information identifies who is being represented. Broker information identifies the brokerage and the specific agent working with you. This ensures there's no confusion about who the agreement applies to. Section 3 is property listing. This section identifies the legal description of the property, any associated parcels, and whether the property is subject to ground rent. Accuracy here is critical. Section 4 is agreement term. This section defines the start and end date for the agreement and includes the terms of termination. This section also says that if a contract of sale is reached, the agreement will automatically extend until settlement is reached. Section 5 is listing price. This is the agreed-upon marketing price for the property. It can be adjusted later, but it establishes your starting position in the marketplace. Section 6 is showing instructions. This section is used to define things like lockbox use, showing availability, occupancy details, and special instructions like whether the property has pets or alarms. Clear showing instructions improve buyer experience and reduce disruption to the seller. Section 7 discusses marketing, the MLS, and internet advertising. This section allows the seller to specify how they'd like the property to be advertised. This includes entry into the Multiple Listing Service, or MLS, internet marketing, and online syndication. It also addresses use of the Coming Soon designation. Section 8 is consent to discuss other properties at open house. In this section, the seller can specify whether their agent is authorized to discuss other listings at their open houses. The seller's agent would best serve their client by not discussing other properties at the open house. Section 9 is grant or release of property data to the broker. This section authorizes the listing agent to use photos, video, and related information to promote the listing through the MLS to the web. Your property will be widely distributed online once active. Section 10 is home security systems that record audio. Maryland law prohibits recording private conversations without consent. If you have audio recording devices, you should understand this section. Section 11 is fair housing. This states that the property will be shown and sold without discrimination based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, familial status, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or source of income. This protects you legally and ensures ethical practice. Section 12 is seller responsibility and insurance. It says the seller, not the broker, remains responsible for the care and condition of the property, including regular maintenance and homeowner's insurance. It also says the brokerage is not responsible for damage during lawful showings. Section 13 is repairs. This notifies the seller that, should repairs be needed to the property, the work may need to be done by a licensed contractor. Section 14 is broker's compensation. Seller's agent compensation is not set by law. It is a negotiable part of the agreement and must be clearly defined as a dollar amount, a percentage, or a combination of both. This section defines what the seller's agent will be paid and under what conditions. Under this agreement, compensation may be owed if a buyer is ready and willing to purchase at acceptable terms, a contract of sale is signed during the term, a buyer introduced during the term purchases within the protection period, or if the seller defaults or breaches. Administrative fees may also apply. Clarity in this section is critical. Section 15 is authority to cooperate with other brokers. This section authorizes your listing agent to share listing information and allow showings by buyer's agents. Following the 2024 NAR settlement, the buyer agent compensation can no longer be advertised in the MLS. Buyers are ultimately responsible for their agent's compensation, and sellers may choose whether to offer compensation up front. The seller can specify the compensation they're willing to give to the buyer's agent, if any. Section 16 is ministerial acts. This section allows your agent to perform routine procedural tasks on your behalf, but not make discretionary decisions without your approval. Section 17 is deposit held by escrow agent. It says that if an entity other than a Maryland real estate broker is used to hold an escrow deposit, they are not subject to the same legal requirements, and a separate escrow agreement will be needed between the buyer and seller. Section 18 is smoke alarm notice. It advises sellers to verify compliance with applicable state and local laws regarding smoke alarms. For example, battery-powered units must be sealed, tamper-resistant units incorporating a silence/hush button, and long-life batteries. Section 19 is lead-based paint. This section identifies whether the property was built prior to 1978, which would make it subject to federal law regarding the presence of lead-based paint. Section 20 is notice regarding disclosure of deferred water and sewer assessments. In some newer developments, a private developer, rather than the county or public utility, pays the upfront cost to install the new water and sewer lines. They defer the cost to the individual homeowners in the subdivision. The homeowners pay an annual fee for a fixed period of time, ranging from 15 to 40 years. If applicable, the listing needs to identify whether the property is subject to a water and sewer assessment. Section 21 is offers. In this section, the seller is asked to decide if the seller's agent is permitted to tell potential offerers about the existence of any offers. Most sellers authorize this disclosure. During a multi-bid situation, it allows the seller's agent to ask for highest and best proposals. This section also states that the seller's agent will present any offers or counteroffers to the seller in a timely manner. Section 22 is home warranty. It identifies whether the seller's broker offers a home warranty to be in place during the listing period and be transferred to the buyer. If offered, the seller is asked to identify whether the warranty is desired or declined. Section 23 is property condition disclosure/disclaimer. Maryland law requires the seller to prepare and provide a disclosure/disclaimer statement to buyers on or before entering into a contract of sale. Even the disclaimer requires the disclosure of material defects. If the buyer doesn't receive the statement, the buyer can rescind the contract any time before the statement is received without penalty, and up to 5 days after the statement is received. Section 24 is violation notices. It says, if there are any permit violations or other notices associated with the property, it may impact the sale. Section 25 is conservation easements. It notifies buyers of any conservation easements associated with the property. Section 26 is insurability. This simply informs the parties about the Property Insurance Basics brochure. Section 27 is flood disclosure notice. This section informs sellers that the property may be located in a floodplain and the potential cost of flood insurance. Flood maps can be found at www.mdfloodmaps.net. Section 28 is Maryland non-resident seller. If the seller is not a resident of Maryland, they may be taxed on the sale of the property. Maryland residents that are selling and moving to another state should consider not changing their residency status until after settlement. Consider consulting a tax professional if this relates to you. Section 29 is foreign investment taxes, or FIRPTA. It says the seller needs to disclose whether they are a foreign person or non-resident alien. Section 30 is properties with private or domestic water supply well. If the property has a water supply well, the buyer has the right to a water quality test. In this section, the seller states whether or not the property has a well. Section 31 is National Properties List Superfund Site. A Superfund site is a site with known releases or threatened releases of hazardous substances, pollutants, and contaminants. Sellers of real property within 1 mile of a Superfund site must disclose this information to the buyer. Section 32 is FHA loan notice. FHA loans need to be paid in full at settlement. Section 33 is wire fraud notice. Sellers should be aware of the potential for cybercriminals when transferring funds. Section 34 is legal construction. It makes clear that this is a legally binding agreement. The last section of the contract is addenda. It identifies the addendum that are attached to the contract and any special conditions. The last page of the contract is also where the seller and their agent sign and date. The exclusive right to sell agreement establishes representation, defines compensation, outlines marketing authority, requires legal disclosures, and protects both parties. You should never feel rushed to sign it. Ask questions. Understand the protection period. Understand the compensation triggers. Understand your disclosure obligations. Thanks for watching. Understanding your listing agreement gives you confidence before your home ever hits the market. Every part of the home buying and home selling process is laid out step by step in my Home Buyers and Home Sellers Handbooks. If you'd like a copy, head over to johnbarzak.com, go to the contact section, and message me for a free PDF of the handbook. I'm happy to send it your way. In the next video, we'll walk through the most common addenda that accompany the listing agreement. And if you're planning to buy or sell in Maryland, especially in or around Harford County, I'd love to help. Don't forget to subscribe for more real estate insights, and have a great day.